All right, we're reviewing episode 133 of Young Justice. After all this time, it's finally back. They brought it back, and it's amazing. In terms of just bringing a show back that's been gone so long, that itself is amazing. That people valued it and appreciated it so much that it could find its way back now. This has happened with other shows before, but I think that's just something that's pretty great for a superhero cartoon. I hear the same thing is likely going on with the older Titans cartoon, but here, you know, the thing about this show is it's kind of rekindling the relationship you had with it in the first episode. It rekindles the relationship you had with it and all the characters. Why kind of reestablishing itself back into our world, and it establishes the plots going forward. It gives us a reminder of who all the characters are, their places on the team, their places in the league, and their place in the world itself, in the galaxy at large, or just on Earth mostly. Now, I was when I first watched this show, it was a while back, and I thought that it was a little bit. Well, it had some mature elements to it, and some themes that they addressed, and of course they did do some things that are a little bit dark. Uh, and it got more and more mature as it went on. It did get a little bit more mature, I guess, as its audience aged. And I think that's what they're keeping with here, is that as its audience aged, so has it. It's matured with its audience. Um, see, I was a big fan of the Justice League Unlimited cartoon. I introduced my nieces and nephews to that, and they really liked it. I also introduced them to the older Titan show, and they really liked it. And the Titan show was a bit more silly and comical, but it did have maturity to it, and that's one thing that a lot of cartoons really lack these days. You get a lot of cartoons that are just like really nonsensical, humorous, and it doesn't really give you much like emotional development or make you think or anything. You get cartoons like SpongeBob that don't really like generate thought provoking feelings or ideas. Uh, but I see. Originally, I was a big fan of the '90s Batman series and the '90s Superman series, and those two together led to the Justice League, and the Justice League led to Justice League Unlimited, and you also had other shows such as Static Shock and Batman Beyond. You had this whole like Bruce Timm-verse universe of the DC animated movies and cartoons, and the Bruce Timm style was really great and really amazing and very impressive. See, in the '90s, Batman had some very emotional episodes and some mature ones. Superman, not so much, but there were some things like that were pretty tragic, like when Superman attacked Earth, brainwashed by Darkseid. I'm not going to get into all that, but they had some really great emotional episodes, like that mature episodes where characters die, and just really good stuff. Justice League did that too, and they also had some like really strong like political arcs and stuff that really make you think. Young Justice has a level of maturity to it that most cartoons don't have, and I think that's great because you didn't get that from a lot of cartoons that followed after the Justice League Unlimited cartoons. At a certain point, it seems like America American cartoons just got a bit more dumbfounded and childish, and they didn't really try to help their audience grow or mature. So Young Justice is great in that department. I really think this is one that you should introduce your kids to. If you have kids, even if you're a teenager, you can enjoy this. Even if you're an adult, you can enjoy this. The thing about cartoons, superhero cartoons, is they're much more of a reflection of the comics than any live action movie can be, because they're in, they're animated visually, which is, you know, in the comics they're animated. They're not animated, that they're drawn in the panels, and it's just cartoons are much more closer than anything live action could be. Uh, Here, though, there's a lot of changes going down, and we do start off with something pretty mature as Black Lightning. We see a lot of we have the younger Justice people, and then we have all the main heroes who are sort of reduced to the background, but still have pretty good relevance. So there's like Superman and Ice and Wonder Woman and John Stewart Green Lantern and Steel and Black Lightning, and there's so many heroes. Arrow, Black Canary. Uh, you even see Batwoman briefly, and other characters like Arrowhead and uh, Tim Drake Robin. There's just so many characters in this that you have to really look out for, because I think Spoiler was even in there. Um, but Nightwing, Oracle, Batwoman, it's jam packed with characters. But Black Lightning, they're fighting on a different planet. I can't remember exactly what planet, but Black Lightning, you know, hits somebody with lightning and they die. Their heart gives out, and he goes on to carry this guilt that causes him to resign from the Justice League. And there's this whole meeting about between Aqua-Lad, who is now gone by the name Aqua-Man, and he's upgraded to Justice League status, and uh, he's very much a key figure, as he assembles all the other leaguers, and they talk about this issue, uh, how it's become a global pandemic, metahuman trafficking, and how people are using them as weapons, and there's all kinds of interesting things. It's also interesting to see Ms. Martian. She's just being, you know, a white Martian. She's not hiding it or anything, and that was something that was interesting to see. I don't really remember the first two seasons all that well, but I do remember that she was mostly green and hiding her identity, and it eventually came up that but the pretty much the whole plot of this is that Lex Luthor is Secretary General, and he's placed more and more restrictions on the Justice League as to what they can do, how they can operate, how they can function, uh, and it's caused them to not be able to save lives. Yeah, it literally divides the league as and Batman and Green Arrow decide they're going to check out. They're going to resign, and several people go with them. Uh, so it was really interesting to see that, and they have this UN meeting or whatever where they discuss it, and you have the Mascara in Atlanta. You have them represented there and arguing with like other country representatives, and it's really interesting. Firmly establishes this world as a really lived in place. And you see Cat Grant and people like Godfrey on the news. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of moving parts going on here. Episode one, it's mostly just reestablishing and rekindling your relationship with this show and establishing the plot moving forward. And the second episode, it starts to get a bit more tense, ramps up the action. The third episode really ramps up the action, and lives are at stake, and people are at risk, and Nightwing's sort of getting this covert team together to operate like unsanctioned. So they have to, go black ops on this. And it's really fascinating to see all this come together. And it looks like it's going to be great moving forward. I'm not sure if I'll be reviewing all the other episodes. I I probably will review them in threes. And I think the last release they'll have 4 episodes, so I'll just be reviewing all those at once. But you do get some very interesting things that really make the world feel even much more lived in. As like you see Beast Boy having this like anti meta human trafficking ad where he's like messaging saying, you know, you got to help stop this problem. And it's a bit more commercial than that, the way it's presented. But I thought that was really interesting. Uh, and the trauma and stress that Black Lightning experiences from what had happened. Well, that's a very mature thing, and I thought that was really interesting. They also introduced this new character. I'm not exactly sure if she's supposed to be somebody from the comics or not. But she can hardly speak English, and she's a victim that develops powers rather quickly, and she helps out as much as she can. But I'm interested to see what they're gonna do with that character. Uh, it's kind of strange to be excited for an animated cartoon series since it's been so long since there was a good one with like mature themes and stuff. That I mean, I was like 50-50 on the Young Justice show when it was out. I did watch it because it did have some mature elements in it that reminded me of older days, like cartoons like X-Men and Batman the 90s series, where they had some things that were really mature to address and well handled, like shows like Static Shock and even Justice League and Justice League Unlimited really had some strong like stuff that adults could get and relate to, and that it could kind of introduce the younger generation to and help them kind of develop as they go forward. Uh, while also completely remaining entertaining and joyous and action packed and immersive, just giving you all these great characters with all their different personalities and costumes. It's just, and this is a thing I often complain about diversity for the sake of diversity, like because it's completely forced when people look at it from that perspective. Like, oh, we gotta have somebody of color in here. That's racist in itself to say such a thing. But here you can see like you don't have to get all far left or whatever on people because there are plenty of black comic book characters. There's Steel in here. There's John Stewart, the Green Lantern. There's Black Lightning. There are other characters too. I mean, there's a bunch of different ones, and it goes to show you that live action movies are ridiculous with the way they race change characters. It points that out even more when you watch something like this. And people that defend that are just, I don't know what the hell to call them, but it's dumb. But anyways, this is really joyous, and I recommend that you give it a shot. You watch it. If you have kids, introduce it to them. Let them see something a bit more mature than your SpongeBob's and your Family Guys. Let them see something that's a bit more mature, touches on something more serious than just comedy and jokes for the sake of jokes. And anyways, I guess I give all 3 of these episodes just like a 8 out of 10. They were strong. You'd enjoy them. You could enjoy them. if you give it a chance. Episode 2 and episode 3 are a bit more action packed than episode 1, as episode 1 just rekindles people's relationship with the show. Uh, like, subscribe, comment, share your opinion. It's always great to hear other people's opinions on the stuff they watched. It ignites some great discussion, and I'm interested in that. But check out my GoFundMe link and my PayPal if you want to support my channel. Anything helps. Of course, it's not necessary, but it's greatly appreciated. Stay awesome. Rock on.